I was born in a displaced persons camp in Germany. It was the same place where Hitler had written Mein Kampf, his plan for genocide. Where I was born, the smoke of the crematorium still hovered above us, and the earth was still smoldering with the embers of what were 182 members of my family murdered. That night was man's attempt to undo God's creation. It wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last. Yehi or, God's first words in Genesis. Let there be light. Yehi or. Light was the beginning of creation, knowledge, illuminating the world, and banishing darkness. Unfortunately, there are forces that strive to return us to the formless, empty darkness of ignorance and hate. Hitler knew that for a lie to work, it had to be repeated and repeated until it became common knowledge. And today, we hear that same hateful Nazi propaganda that my parents heard in the 1930s. South Africa, I saw water fountains, park benches, and buses labeled Nia Blanca, non-whites, and Netta Blanca, only whites. In fact, I got a free ride to a South African police station because of my opinions about apartheid.
All right, all right.
Apartheid is not Israel.
All right.
Where Arab representatives have been in the Israeli Knesset, the Congress, since it started in 1949. Apartheid is not Israel, where there are 5 official Arab parties. Apartheid is not Israel, where Christians, Jews, Muslims, and Druze and Baha'is can all worship freely. Apartheid is not Israel, where 20% of the student body and 10% of the faculty are Arabs. Apartheid is not Israel, where the recent Miss Israel is Ethiopian. Apartheid is not Israel, where Salim Juban, an Arab member of the Supreme Court, an Arab Muslim member of the Supreme Court, sentenced the former Jewish president of Israel to jail. To separate Jews from their lives and from their land, it serves to say they have no claim to either. And they say now that Israel has no claim, and Jews have no claim to Israel. Well, in that case, we can all throw out our Bibles.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Jews are the indigenous people of the land. We've been there for over 3,000 years. Jerusalem is, was, always has been, always will be the capital of only one people, Israel. You can't stick a shovel in the ground in Israel without coming up with an artifact that has Hebrew writing on it. And so it's inconvenient. And some people are trying to rewrite history. So our ancient holy sites, such as the Western Wall, the Cave of the Patriarchs, Rachel's tomb, Joseph's tomb, many churches, ancient churches, are now being called, with the help of the United Nations, they're being called mosques. And they are bulldozing Jewish and Christian history. Another lie. Jewish homes in the West Bank, which if you know your history, and you know it, is Judea and Samaria, Judea. Jewish homes in Judea are an obstacle to peace. Why are Jewish homes any place and affront to anyone? We find no fault with Arabs living in Israel. So why must any place that's potentially Palestinian be ethnically cleansed of Jews? We don't believe in ethnic cleansing. Lie 3. Palestine belongs to the Palestinians. This is a deception. People think that we don't know that Israel when it was conquered by the Romans, who were really annoyed at the Israelites for putting such a fight up, renamed the land Philistia after the Philistines. Remember David and Goliath, the Philistine? So they called it Philistia. And that's what it was called. The Palestine Symphony, the Palestine Post, the Palestine Electric Company, the Palestine Brigade, all before 1948 when Israel got independent. These were all Jewish. And then we decided we're going to name ourselves. We're going to go back to the name that God gave us, Israel. And so prior to 1967, there are no news headlines ever referring to Arabs as Palestinians. Lie 4, Israel doesn't want peace. Israel's put out a hand of peace when the Arabs attacked it in 1948, 1956, 1967, 1973. Israel was the victor of those wars. They made concessions to the perpetrators. And you know what the Arab states responded? 3 no's. No peace, no negotiations, no recognition of a Jewish state. Israel gave up land and was willing to give up more land for peace. But we see what happens in Gaza. We gave up land and got terror.
That's right.
If you want to know who the obstacle to peace are, read the Hamas Charter. I have a table back there with all kinds of books, including the Hamas Charter. We read it in their own words what they say. One of many, many dozens of quotes. They say, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it. That's their words, not mine. Lie 5, it's a Jewish problem. As much as the enemies of Jews in Israel would have us believe that this is a Jewish problem, it's not. The haters of Israel call Israel the little Satan, and the U.S. the big Satan. We here are in the crosshairs, and it was pretty clear in the Boston bombings, in Fort Hood, and 9/11. Just as the Holocaust started as a final solution to the Jewish problem, and quickly escalated to embroil the whole world, so today the anti-Israel frenzy has metastasized. It's a cancer, and it's including the whole world, and an attack on Christians. Christians are fleeing Muslim-controlled lands as they face unprecedented persecution, arrests, and violence. And it's not just sporadic violence of mobs going on Christmas killing sprees, but it's policy. Last week, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia called for the destruction of all churches in the region. And as we speak, churches are burning. In much of the Middle East, except for Israel, being a Christian is a crime, and speaking about one's Christian beliefs is punishable by death. So we demonize and delegitimize, and the next thing, punish. What do you do with demons who have no right to exist? It's a war of words that starts before the war of deeds. Israel has developed a world-class defense system to intercept rockets. But there's another, more insidious war. It's a campaign of boycotts, divestments, sanctions, and it's being waged in our communities, our campuses, and even our churches. It's not okay to judge Israel by a standard which is not applied to any other nation. And anyone who advocates treating one people and one nation differently than others is committing an act of prejudice. Let's shed some light on those lies. I've come to ask for your help. I need you, each of you, every day, with everyone you meet, to light a candle in the darkness. Light a candle. Learn the truth about Israel. In the tent next to us, I brought tons of materials. They're yours, free to take. And please feel free to ask me for more. Light a candle. Share your knowledge. Teach your friends, your neighbors, your congregants, your family about Israel. Every time you confront a lie about Israel, you light a candle. Stand with us when we challenge the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, the bullies on our campuses. Our Jewish students need to walk side by side with Christian students on campus to stand with Israel and stand for the truth. Keep in touch so that we can share information. I'm coming back to the beginning. Why did God create light? Surely He could see in the darkness. Isaiah tells us, I've called the Lord you in righteousness, and will hold your hand and will keep you, and will give you for a covenant of the people, for a light unto nations, to open blind eyes. Open your eyes. God's light is the antidote to darkness and despairs. Light a candle in the darkness. It's up to us together, unified, resolute, to make sure that the light unto nations is never extinguished. Thank you.